Well, good morning, everyone. It's the Kiltwalk weekend, and I'm raising money for inclusive skating by doing the Kiltwalk Virtual Challenge because this year we can't actually go out and do the actual walk itself. So I thought that for the challenge that I'm going to do for inclusive skating is that I would actually take a video of how you actually put together some of our equipment. And this is some new equipment that a lot of you haven't seen before. And we need to train the volunteers up in how to use this equipment. And it's very useful because you can actually socially distance whilst you're actually using the equipment. So it's going to be really helpful to have this equipment and more of it, as we're in the recovery phase from COVID, and hopefully we're all back on the ice and we're able to start beginners on the ice. I thought the simplest thing to do was to pull the equipment together, and I'm actually just going to record everything. So you're going to see me very shortly just starting to move around and actually showing the different parts of the equipment and then how you put it together. I'll probably take quite a bit of time over it so that you can actually sort of like look at the equipment and how it all works. It's been in storage because we've not used it for a couple of months, obviously during lockdown. So I'm also going to have to take it out, but that's quite useful because if you're a volunteer and you are having to use the equipment, it's probably going to come in a bag with several of these kits together, and you're going to have to select how you're going to use it and how you're going to put it together. Okay, so let's get started, and I'll start to show you it first of all. Okay. Do you like the t-shirt? This is the special Kiltwalk one. Right, so we've got a group of them, which they're easier to store if you've actually got them all together. I'll just put this down a little bit so you can actually get to see it. And you can see I've just actually put the bottom ends together so it was just easier to put them together and keep them together in the garage. But I've now got to pull that apart so I can actually separate them. There's actually 3 skating aids here. So you can see that this is actually quite useful because they actually store flat. So you can have them in your garage, or you could have them in the coach's room, or you could have them, in a volunteer's room. They do actually go in the back of the car, which is quite useful as well. So you can easily transport them because they fold flat. And that's the good side about it. The bad side is you've actually got to put them up and down, and you've got to know how to do it safely. So I've just put these together at the bottom, so I'm just going to start to take that out. I just put a bit of cellophane round with a bit of sellotape. And similarly over here, I've just got bubble wrap around them as well to protect them. I put the bubble wrap down on the floor, and I've got scissors because I thought I might need it, because I had sellotaped this together just to make it a bit more secure when they were being transported. So that's just a bit of bubble wrap. Maybe in time we could get someone that could make us a nice big bag that they could actually be stored in. Right, so here's one of them. And this is how one comes when you're actually using it with the normal handle. And I'm going to put this together shortly so you can actually have a look at how a normal one works. Okay. Here's the second one. And the difference between this one is that it doesn't have the normal handle attached, and that's because I'm going to use it with the special adaptation one, so you'll get to see that. And here's another normal one. Okay, and I'm going to put both the normal ones together so you can see the differences in the height that you can achieve. Okay, I'm just going to move the chair out the road just now, just to give us a bit more room to work in. Right. And you can see you don't really need much more space to use this piece of equipment. So you can see it's got 2 like curved ends, and it's got an end here which has got like a little handle that the thing is going to operate in. When we transport them, I keep all the parts together as much as possible so that when you're actually putting this together, you're then going to have to take it apart. So I'm just unscrewing this at the moment. Just going to put that down. And there's two washers. There's a washer here at this end. Let's take that out as well. And there's a long screw. And that screw is going to secure the whole thing together. So just put that down to one side because you're going to need it when you put it back up together again. Right, now, as you can see now, there's two parts, and you've got to decide which one's which. Well, this is going to be the top because that's where you're going to secure the handle. And the bit that's got this long piece attached, that is the part that you're going to take to the ground. So that's what I'm going to do now so that you can see this going down. I'll just move this other part that we just made so you don't get confused. So you can see there's that bit there. And can you see all of that? Are you getting a good enough view? Yeah, I think you are now. There you are. So you can see the bit at the bottom and you can see the bit which is now going to get brought up. Okay, there we are. Hi everyone. I just interrupted the recording a little bit because I wanted to change the angle at which we were actually doing this so that you could really get to see what was actually happening. Because this is probably the most difficult part of putting it together. When you bring up this handle, you can see that there's two holes here on either side, and you're going to bring this part down, and this bit is going to slot into this part, and the holes are going to align like so. And that's the most difficult bit because it doesn't sort of like look intuitive when you're doing it until you actually sort of see it done for the first time. So I'm just going to do that a couple of times so that you can get to see it. You can see how secure that is. And I'm going to take it back out. So this bit's been down here and you've got the long bar. You bring this up and then you bring this together so that the two bits align. Slide it in slightly and then that gives you your holes. And I'm going to let you see that from the side angle as well. Let's have a look. Can you see the holes at the side? And what's going to happen now is, remember that screw that we took out? Well, we're going to put that through. So we're going to put that through like so. Going to put the washer on and then we're going to screw it back up. And you just wait for it to catch, and then that gives you a nice secure positioning for this. Now at the moment I've got this set at quite a low height, okay? We'll look at that in a little minute, but I want to show you the mechanism for how you adjust height. And the adjusting height button is down here, and you can see, I'll just rotate this round slightly so you can actually see it operating as well. And you can see that there's a screw, right? Now at the moment it's held in place and it's quite tight. This handle is quite secure and I can't move it around. But if I start to slacken this, just unwind it anti-clockwise, you can hear that noise. I'm just going to see if we can go up slightly. Yep, we can see that better. So you can see this can now start to move. I'm going to take it, I'm going to tighten it again so you can see it again working. And you can see it's nice and firm and it doesn't move at all. You really can't move that at all. That's really held in place very well. Untighten it. And you can see that you can now take it out and adjust the height. Okay, when it's at this lower height, it's ideal for a little person, okay, but it can go up a lot higher. So we're just going to tighten that up again, because I'm actually going to have all three of them at different heights so that you can actually see how it works for different people. Okay, okay. So that is it. That's the skating aid, and that's it put to the height for the little one. To take it apart, you do something. You just do the same thing in reverse. Okay, okay. You unscrew it. But you don't need to unscrew that. You can, well, you would ideally, because you would want it down as low as you can so that you can store it more easily. But to take it apart, you just unscrew this connecting here. There we are. Take off the washer. Take out the screw because you want to put it to one side, and then you're just going to push the two bits apart. Now the important thing here at this stage though is to put this handle down first and then this part. Hi everyone, just a continuation of where we were. We're putting together the frames for the skaters who need them. The one that we've already done is just the normal one, so I thought that I'll now start to show you how to put together the one for people that have got more additional needs. This could be used for someone that's deaf-blind, so that would allow you then to be able to guide the person. It could be used by someone that's got very weak arms and they can't hold on to the handles in the normal way. And if someone's needing some more profound balance assistance, then this piece of equipment is particularly useful. Importantly, it's also useful because of the extension to the handles. It also means that you can socially distance, even for a beginner. So it's really useful, this piece of equipment. Now, the frame is the exact same one that we've already just been using, but I'll still put it together because we'll go through that again. But before we put it together, I'm just going to show you the other parts because it comes separately. So it's quite possible that when you're using this equipment that you might be actually doing it yourself on your own for the first time. So you've got your normal piece of frame, which I'm just going to move that down so you can see that. So that's the normal frame that you've just been using. And then you've got another different handle. Now you see when we did it before, we had like a normal curved handle, but you can see this one has actually got a big long frame and it's got a much longer extension part. And that's because it's going to have additional space for some additional handles which get put on, and also some extra screw-on handles that get put on at the end. You can see that there's little holes here at the end so that there's two handles that slot in. So when the person's in the middle, then the people who are guiding can actually be quite far away. You can certainly have the face, out, a quite considerable distance away. So in a COVID world, when we're all trying to socially distance, this can be really useful. Still recommend that the volunteers are wearing masks, but it's still useful that you actually know that you can extend this and that the person can be well supported. So that's the long part that's going to be the part of the handle. I'm just going to put that down just now because I'm also going to show you the other parts of the kit. Now I store them in a bag because it just helps to keep them all together. And here's one of the elbow supports. This is going to go onto the handle, and you can see it's got like a square hole, and that's because that's the bit that actually goes onto the handle at the either side. And there's this screw mechanism, same as before, which helps this to tighten up, to slacken. The moment I've got that fully open so that I can slide it on. Then there's also this mechanism here, which is very similar, and it's got a mechanism where you can actually slide the handles further out, because this handle here can adjust as well. You can actually pull that out and in. And once that's in place, then the person can hold on to that and they can actually rest their arm on the armrest. So for someone that's got quite a lot of challenge, that can be really quite useful, particularly if they've got weak wrist strength. And there's two of these. So that's one of them. And that's the second one of them. So we're going to put them on. I'm just going to put that to one side just now. And then we've got two handles, right? And you can see with the handles, they've actually got different slots. So it means that you can actually put them further out. So that really can enhance the social distancing that we're all looking for just now. And again, I'm just going to put them down just now so that we can put them together. And then there's a couple of like smaller parts which are actually quite important, right? These are the two parts that are actually going to hold on to help the handles to be secured in place. So they're actually they're going to slot on. And then at the ends of the handles, there's these two little stoppers for safety, because you don't want, the ends are a little bit rough, so you want to make sure that you've got them in place. Don't need that. I think that's everything in here. So Let's put this all together again so that you can actually see how everything is put together. Hi everyone, just change position just so that you could actually get another look at it. Now, one of the things that's quite helpful about putting this all together is that it's quite helpful if the part that you're going to take down first is the part with the long handle. So if you've got that one, always think about that one as being the one that you're going to have nearest to you, and that you're bringing that one down to the ground. I tend to use my elbow, so you can just keep that a little bit separate as you're taking that down. Okay. And you can see this is one of the other ones, so we're going to unscrew the end, take off the washer and the part, and put that to one side so that we can take it apart. You're going to bring this part up, and then you're going to bring the two things down together again. Just gently squeeze them in, line them up, put the screw in, put on the washer, and then just get the screw to catch, and there you are. You can see it screws quite nicely, and then you can just tighten it up. Good, okay. So you can see that this end part now has got nothing in it. The last time that we did it, we actually had the handle in it, and you can store it like that quite easily. But this time we're wanting to use the more extensive support system. So we've got the long handle part that I showed you a short time ago. So here it is here. You can see it's got the big long handle, and then it's got this end part here, and this just slots down, okay? And you can just slide that in. Okay, and I'll just take it to about that height so that you can see it quite nicely. And it's the same mechanism. You go down here to the screw and you screw that in place, okay? So you can see that that has now actually given you the exact same mechanism. The difference is it's got a great big long handle this time. The bits haven't been added to it yet, we've still got to do that. And you can see that the ends aren't together, and the reason why the ends and the handles haven't been put in place is that we've got to slide on the elbow supports. So it's helpful that you take the whole of this apart, which then does mean that you've actually got to put the whole thing back together again, but that's important for the skater. Now this is the part that the skater is going to be holding on to. So this is the part that you want to make sure that is in the front. So if you're looking at it from the skater's point of view, they're going to be like so, holding onto the elbow. I'm just going to put it up a wee bit so you can see. They're going to be holding onto it like so. So you want to make sure that this part is the part that's going to slot in. And I'll just slightly adjust that so you can see. Right, so this part is going to go in. Make sure that it's just sliding across. And you've got to unscrew it completely, otherwise it blocks. And then once it goes in, it just slides, and you can just have that, you know, at a fair distance apart. I'll just put it there just now. Right, and you can see you can have it at different angles. I'm just going to show you this. It's at a slope, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take it back out again and then show you if I put it on with the square further round. So I've slotted it off, and then I'm just going to rotate it. Like so, that's wrong. And that gives you, that's so the person can hold on. Okay. And that part is the bit that slots out, and then again you can tighten that up so that the person can hold on and they can rest whilst they're skating. So that shows you the angle that it's at so that the person can be secure and that they can still balance and hold on to it without the risk of them tipping forward as well. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So I'll just come round the other way. at this angle. And you can see the same thing again. I'll just let you have a good look. So you've got your hole there, so you can see it. And then that's going to slot through, and we want it at the same angle. So it can be there, could be there, but you can see that's the wrong angle. So that's the correct one. And make sure that it's fully out so that it can slide in. If it's not fully out, it gets stuck. So you've got to take the whole thing right out. And then it just slides across. And preferably you would want both of these to be about the same equidistance apart from the centre to make sure that you've got good balance, and then just tighten it up. Okay, so that shows you that with both handles attached, and again this handle part can slide forward. You can just slide that out so the person can hold on to that, and then tighten so that the person who's actually going to use it has actually got a good grip and a good elbow support for them to hold on to. Now we've got the two extenders, and I think when they were thinking about inventing this, they never thought that they'd be using it for socially distancing of beginner skaters on the ice. Because of the social distancing at the moment, I'm actually going to put this to the maximum extent possible. Okay, so we've got the holes lined up. You can see that there's actually 3 different lengths that you could put it to. But we're going to use the furthest out one because that gives us the maximum social distance. And it's got a little prong which is going to go through that. And this is the bit where you probably need a wee bit of strength just to push it into place. But it's actually not bad, and it actually holds quite easily. So that gives that in place. And the same on the other side. We need this. I'm going to just let you see, have a good look at that. Yeah, I think you can all see quite nicely. So again, the same thing. It's got the handle, and it's got the 3 holes. So we're going to slide that in, and you can see, wait for the holes to line up. That's the shortest distance, that's the medium distance, and that's the furthest out one. Okay, and then that, line the hole up, and then just slot that in, and that's all in place. So that is your bit of kit. So let's see if you can see the whole thing a bit further out. I'm just going to move that up a bit higher, and let's see if you can see the whole thing. You can see it's quite wide, so the person using it, this is set for someone a bit smaller than me, so I'm just going to put the height up a little bit. Let's put closer to my height. So you can see that the person using it can actually adjust quite nicely, and they can hold on to it so that they're very secure. And then the people that are guiding it, one person's going to be out here and one person's going to be out there. So they're going to be able to steer and guide. So for someone that's got a vision impairment, that's a complete beginner, you can actually ensure that they're not going to bang into anyone. And for someone that's needing more additional support needs, this is actually very solid. We've been using it with some of the severe CP skaters, and it's one of the wonderful things about it is it allows them to stand up much more straight. One of the things to be careful of is the way that you set the height. So you've got to be sure that you don't pull this out too far. You want to make sure that it's only going to the height that it can actually be stable at. So there is actually a maximum. So if someone is, 7 foot, you're probably not going to be able to use this bit of equipment. You would need to get an extra long support, and you might need to change the size of the whole thing. But you really want to make sure that the person is actually going to be at the right height for them. Hi everyone, just a continuation of the series of videos about how to put the equipment together. One of the things I thought might be quite helpful to do would be to put one up, but also to highlight things that might actually go wrong. you know, that you might not actually be aware of when you're actually trying to put it together again. So this one is a little bit of a troubleshooting just to make sure that, you know, things don't go wrong and what it could easily be to sort it out. So I've got one of the ones that I haven't put together yet. So let's get started. Okay, and this I'd say is the most common mistake. Okay, so let's have a look at the equipment, and you can see the person has correctly got the handle as being the one that is the closest to you. So we're just going to put that down very nicely, right? But then I immediately notice a problem, right? I'm just going to push that down so you can get a good look at it. And can you see that the handle is rounded, going up the way to the sky? Now that to me is a huge signal this handle is actually in the wrong way round. So when I'm actually going to put it in, I'm going to have to take that handle back out. If I was to try to put that in with this, I would actually probably twist this because it's not actually going to work. You can see if you were to put that together again, like so, it's not going to work, and people could end up trying to put the thing the wrong way around. You know, they're going to get confused. And the reason for the confusion is the handle itself. That this part just comes, you know, out. So at this stage, you don't need to do anything about it. You can still put the parts together. But you will have to take this handle back out. So let's just do that. We've got this mechanism where we can, I'm doing it a little bit quicker now because I've shown it to you a couple of times. So we're just going to take out the screw, the washer. And then we're just going to slide that down. There we are. I'm going to put in the handle. Good. Now I'm going to put in the washer, and then we're going to put in this screw. Right, now at this stage I want to show you something as well. Right, now someone has obviously put this together in the past and they've been using it, but if you over tighten this, you can actually start to see that you actually start to bend the metal, so that you might actually cause this metal little part to bend overly. So just be careful that you don't over tighten it either to the extent that you actually damage the metal, okay? Because then we might actually have to get that re-welded. If it's unlikely to break, but it's certainly going to bend and it's going to make it more difficult to get it in and out. Okay. So the next part is this handle. You can see this handle is the wrong way round. If we were to be trying to use that with a skater on the ice, the handle is on the wrong side of where the person should be. This handle should be facing the same curve as where the balance is going to be, because the skater is going to be in this position here, and that's what makes it such good balance for the people that are actually going to use this as beginner skaters. The penguin supports are straight up and down so that there's no space for the feet to move forward, whereas on this there's actually space for the skater to skate, so they can be completely balanced and upright if you've got the handle the right way around, because they've actually got this additional room to move, and the balance is adjusted to where they are in terms of height. So let's take this apart and take out the washer. Oh, hold on, don't need to do that. Put it back in. And that's something that people can do quite a lot. You actually go to adjust the handle and you start to take the first one that comes to mind, and that is a really common mistake. So just remember that when you're wanting to adjust the handle, it's not the one that you actually use to put the frame together, it's the one that's lower down. And you know, everyone does this. You know, they start to slacken off the wrong one. So we want to slacken this enough so this can move. So we're going to take it out, and then we're going to rotate it 180 degrees. Slot it back in, and now you can see that the handles are following the same curve as the actual frame itself, and that will mean then that it's actually properly balanced. If you were to be using it the other way, it wouldn't be correct because the person wouldn't be balanced. You can see that here, the person's going to be standing in this position here, holding onto it, so they're going to be like well balanced. And this would be a suitable one for someone that, I would say it was around about 4'10". So what I'm going to show you now is I've got all three of them all put together so you can see the different heights that you can actually have it. And I've got it broadly speaking, this would be probably for someone about the age of 10, 11. That's roughly adult height, and that would be the height for a 5-year-old. So I'm just going to put that one to one side. And I'm going to bring back, once I get it here, the smaller one. And then I'm going to change the videos so you can see the differences in the heights. Right, so this is the smaller height for a small person. You can see that would be up to about my sort of thigh height. So that would be for someone round about the height of a 5-year-old. This one is slightly taller, and you can see that I could use it at a push, but it would be better for it to be for someone round about 4'10". That would be like the perfect height for them. And then I've got the one with the additional supports. I'll just swing the video around it just a little bit more so that you can see it. And I'll just bring it into view. And we'll push that up a little bit higher so that you can see the height of it. And you can see the differences in the heights. This one's quite a lot higher than this one. And then this one here is the smallest one of the three. Can you see them all? Yeah, that's them all now in a row. So that they've all got differences in heights depending upon the individual. And because this is a sliding mechanism, you can literally have it for any height that's within the sort of like normal average range. And this handle can be used at any height. So again, it could be used for a little one with CP that's or a little deaf blind child, and again it could be used at any of the average ranges of height. Well, hello everyone again. I do hope that you're enjoying my Kiltwalk challenge, and the thing that I would like to do now with you all is actually to share how you would take the thing apart, and also how you would actually put it into storage if you wanted to do it. What I've actually done is I've actually sort of like prepared a little bit like Blue Peter a bit earlier, and you can actually see I've got all three of them up, all of them at the different sizes that I showed you earlier, and you can actually see that they can actually be stored like this, up and open ready for the beginning of your session, so that they don't take up a lot of room. It really is quite useful because it then means that all of this kit can actually be stored in a little corner, because it's very important that you supervise the use of this equipment at all times. You need to make sure that the people who are actually using it, they are suitable to use the equipment. So you have to risk assess whether or not someone is actually suitable for the equipment. Someone might be too impaired to be able to use it. They may be the wrong size for the equipment, maybe due to severe obesity. They may have too extreme a balance issue, in which case you might actually have to use some harness equipment, or they might even need to remain in a wheelchair to be able to access skating activities. So you must risk assess to get started with them. And you've also got to make sure that you adjust them for their height. Always make sure that you do as much preparation as you can beforehand. So as much as possible, risk assess them before they ever get to the rink. But once they get to the rink, you do actually need to make sure that it is actually at the right height, and that the person does have their equipment on properly. As you can see, the use of this additional equipment is very, very useful, particularly in a socially distanced world, because we've got these nice big long handles that's going to allow you to be much further away from the person. You could even be, for example, where I am, but the person's head is over there, so they're a good metre away, yet they're still absolutely guided. This handle though is very long, and it's quite possible that the person might actually become independently supporting, and or they don't need guiding. They might not be visually impaired, so it's quite possible that the person could become independently ambulant using this piece of equipment, in which case you might not want to have this sticking out, because it might actually in itself create a hazard. And that's where these little plastic stoppers come in. If you take these out, you can see you just slide that little prong out, the handle pops out, and then you can use this to push into place. Now I don't want to push it in too tight because I find them quite hard to get out actually once they're in, but that's what you put in place, and then that just makes sure that that sort of like rough end isn't actually going to hurt anyone. Make sure that you've got the rubber stopper so that there's nothing sharp to catch on to anyone. And even if the person's independently ambulant, you will still need to supervise it because you've got something sticking out. So you do want to make sure that the person is actually not going to bang into anyone. So this equipment needs supervision at all times. Okay. Now what we should also do now is we should actually show you how to take the equipment apart, and because it's a good idea to do this a couple of times, because that's the bit that people often find quite difficult. Hi everyone, so as promised, here we are about to take all three of them apart, and so I'm just going to slide this one slightly forward so that you can sort of see me doing it. And it is actually quite possible that you could actually leave this handle in. I often do that because it's just, you know, it's as easy to store them with them in. So all you really need to do is to leave the handle as the bit that you're going to keep in place, and the part that's coming apart is this bit here with the washer. So that's the bit you're going to remove because you need to take that bit apart. It's coming. Hold on to the washer carefully, just put that down to one side, and then just take this away because we need a little bit of room, because we're going to I just put my foot on it slightly just to hold it in place. Just going to slide it, and as I said, I find it easier to put the handle down first and then this part on top. Okay, it's just easier to store that way, and I prefer to store it with this handle part put back in so that you don't lose the parts. So I'm just going to put them back in. It's not securing anything, but it does actually mean that you're not going to lose anything, because it's very easy to lose these sorts of little parts. So that can go in there. Then we've got the second one, and you can see this one is at the higher height, but it's actually quite useful just to adjust the height so that it's easier for storage, so that it doesn't take up as much room. So I'm just going to slide that down, take this apart, same thing. That's coming quite nicely. Put that down to one side. Again, the same thing, just move that over. Again, the same thing, just slide it apart. Put that down again. And the same thing, put these parts in place so that you don't lose them. And you can see that just to get it lined up. Now this is the bit that's a bit more complicated, and how you store it can be up to you. This part does produce quite a lot of extra length, so I'm very inclined to always take these handles out. I also prefer taking this out because it just makes it a bit easier, and I just store these in a bag. So again, this is the mechanism for sliding it. There we are. I'll just take that out. Take that out as well. And then this can come apart. Now it's also got to be said that this equipment can also be adapted for inline skating, off-ice skating, and it does this through the bottom mechanism, and that there's a separate attachment which comes with brakes attached, which haven't arrived yet, otherwise I'd have shown you that today as well. Take this part out. I always think with this one, it's better to take this one out just because it's so much longer. It's a bit harder to store, so I'm always inclined to take that out. And we're just going to put this down as well. We're going to put that one down first, and then this, and put this back together again. Right, and that's those parts put together. So that's that one. 3. And then the bag where I keep all of these separate parts, the 2 handles, the 2 stoppers to put the handles on, the 2 end points if you're not using the handles, elbow support, number 1, elbow support number 2. There you are, and that gives you your equipment very flat. So I hope you've enjoyed my Kiltwalk challenge and that you've learned how to put the equipment up. One of the things that will be happening with any of the funds that we raise is that it will be going to helping the volunteers be trained and potentially even buy more of this equipment so that more people get the opportunity to go skating. Bye, see you soon. Thank you so much, and remember to donate if you possibly can. Thank you.